So insane show or batshit insane show. I really can't make up my mind on which way I'm swaying as I reminisce and look back on this NXT TakeOver Portland show. It was certainly one of the most insane wrestling shows I've seen in a little while now. Um, my God, I don't know if I can call this the best NXT takeover of all time, but it is definitely high up there. And if you were to tell me this was the best of all time, I'd be hard pressed to argue against that. So, hello, this is Derek J407, and I'm here to review, somehow, someway, NXT TakeOver Portland, live from the Moda Center in Portland, Oregon. A show that going into it had 6 matches that each had the ability to be show stealers, classics, match of the year contenders, all of the above, and more. And from the beginning of the show all the way to the very, very end, I think that pretty much lived up to those expectations, if not exceeded those expectations. The worst match on this entire show was great, in my opinion. Now, this is my opinion, but the least match on this entire show was what I would call, at the very least, great. Maybe just really, really good, but I would go as far as to say great. And everything beyond that was excellent, stellar, magnificent, damn near perfection, whatever you want to call it. Some, slip ups, some flaws, but about as close to an amazing show as you could possibly get. And like I said, one of the best takeovers up to date. And I'm sure I say that every single time I review one of these takeover shows, but it is absolutely the truth. So let's start all the way from the beginning and work our way all the way through this show and see what we're feeling. The show kicked off with the North American Championship match. Keith Lee defending his championship against Dominik Dijakovic. These two have had plenty of excellent matches on NXT television in the last year. I believe going into this show, they were 1-1-2. Lee won one, Dijakovic won another. There was a match that ended in, I believe, a double countout. And then there was another match they had that ended with interference from, I believe, the Undisputed Era or Roderick Strong, something like that. So they had 1 win apiece and 2 ties, basically. So we had the big rubber match here. And ever since the first time these guys went one-on-one, I remember that. It was like May or something like that a year ago. Maybe it was before that. I don't know. Maybe it was before that. But whenever these guys first went one-on-one, I remember saying then that this is a match that I want to see headline a takeover show. Now, they didn't headline per se. They opened this one. But I said that because those guys put on an excellent match all the way back then. So I knew now it was going to be even better. And this, out of the matches that they've had up to this point, was probably the best match they had. Wasn't perfect, wasn't beautiful, but it's just exactly what you would expect from Dijakovic and Keith Lee. 2 big dudes who are extremely athletic and very agile in many ways, beating the holy shit out of one another for 15 or 20 minutes. And that's exactly what we got here. So many highlights and big moves to go back and recounter. Early on, there was a bit of a sloppy move where Dijakovic hit a suplex on Lee on the apron. Both were on the outside, and he threw him over his shoulders and hit him with a suplex on the apron. It looked a little sloppy, but from there on out, it was a lot of great stuff. Dijakovic was really showing out here. He had Lee on his shoulders while on the middle rope in the ring. He held him there for like a quick second and then came crashing down, hitting the feast of your eyes on Lee, but it was only good for a 2 count. Lee wasn't down for very long. He made his way back into things. He had Dijakovic on the outside, over by the announcers area, over by the security wall. He had him posted. He shushed the crowd and unloaded a bunch of chops on Dijakovic. He unloaded a hard chop there. He had him seated in one of the announcer chairs, gave him a chop there. Eventually, Dijakovic reversed things. He had Lee seated in a chair. Lee hit him with one more chop from the chair, but then Dijakovic hit him with a super kick. Then got back in the ring, went all the way up to the top turnbuckle, and came crashing down with a swanton, basically, all the way to the outside, crashing down onto Lee while still sitting on the chair. Thought that was damn impressive. There was a spot where Lee hit a spirit bomb on Dijakovic, but the momentum was so powerful that it sent Dijakovic back to his feet. He slammed, he went upside down, inside out, whatever, and got back to his feet. Tried to go for another maneuver, but was thwarted by Lee, who hit yet another spirit bomb, and this time it planted him. But it was only good for a 2 count. So, in the end, Dijakovic tries to go for the feast your eyes, tries to lift up Lee, but his back is injured, been too much abuse to it, so Lee slips out, hits his finisher, the Big Bang, and gets the 1, 2, 3. After the match, both men shook hands, they hugged. Lee gave Dijakovic his respect, let him pose, all that. This may have been the last time we'll see these guys go one-on-one, at least to this degree. And if that's the case, hell of a way to go out, because they had a tremendous match, a great big man match between these two. Great way to start the show. And how are you not impressed with these guys? Keith Lee has been impressing people for months now, but Dijakovic, people sleep on this guy. He's really, really talented, and he has a bright future ahead of him as well, just as much as Keith Lee. Maybe not as much as Keith Lee, because I see Keith Lee reaching some tippy-top heights later on down the line. But, yeah, just a great match between these guys. Up next was a street fight between two former best friends, now the bitterest of enemies, Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai. This was a rough brawl. There were a few botches in this match, but because of the feud and the story and the street fight aspect of it and how wild these two were and how uncaged and unhinged they were, it kind of added to it a little bit. So it made it feel just a lot more real, like a real fight. So Tegan Nox came out first with her entrance, and from behind, Dakota Kai attacked her, and the two started a brawl. They brawled down the entranceway, they brawled into the crowd a little bit, they brawled all the way around back to ringside, and knocked over a security wall, and that's where Dakota Kai hit a DDT on Tegan Nox onto the security wall, and that pretty much set things in motion. So from there, we had a bunch of garbage stuff, trash cans, tables, actually not tables just yet, but we had chairs, trash can lids, a cricket bat was used, insanity. One of the sickest moves in this match was Dakota Kai just slamming a trash can lid right in Tegan Nox's face, which it made me laugh, but it looked brutal. We got to a point where we started to see the vicious side of Tegan Nox come out. She hit a German suplex on Dakota on a trash can. There's a little bit later on, after Dakota Kai tried to duct tape Tegan Nox her wrist to like the bottom turnbuckle while she's on the outside, she managed to break out of it, and she got a laptop in her possession and used that laptop to smash Dakota Kai's surgically repaired knee, because of course we know Tegan Nox has surgically repaired knees, but so does Dakota Kai. So she used that on her. She used a chain on her knee and a chair. She took the knee brace off, hit her with her shiniest wizard, but she was not done. She got a table. She laid out Dakota Kai placed her on the table, wrapped a chair around her head and neck, and Tegan Nox was going up top, prepared to do God knows what. But then, all of a sudden, a woman, a rather large woman, not too large, but tall and very built woman, comes out of nowhere and gets up on the apron. We're told that this is Raquel Gonzalez, who is in the PC and who apparently competed in a past Mae Young Classic tournament on the WWE Network a few years ago. I have no memory of this woman. We have never seen this woman before. This is Butcher and the Blade from AEW territory, but nonetheless, she made a very impactful debut here as she threw Tegan Nox off the top. Dakota Kai managed to slip off the table by that point, so she threw Tegan off the top, and Tegan crashed onto the table. Not through the table, onto the table, because it did not break. This was not the last time a table would not break on this show. But even though it didn't break, the sound when Tegan landed on that table, it was just bone crushing. It was brutal. Kai managed to, kind of slouch over and get the pin and won the match. So Dakota Kai picks up the win and seemingly has a new bodyguard in her corner named Raquel Gonzalez. So I assume this feud is going to continue now that both women are at 1 win apiece. I could see this continuing heading into TakeOver Tampa. Maybe a last woman standing match. Hell, maybe give them a cage match, now that Dakota Kai has a bodyguard, maybe to prevent her from interfering. I'm throwing up the air quotes. Prevent her interference. Maybe we'll see them in a cage. I don't know. But yeah, good stuff here. They announced the next NXT UK TakeOver show. It'll take place in Dublin, Ireland. The first time they will actually be outside of the UK for real. So UK TakeOver will be in Dublin, Ireland on Sunday, April 26th. So it seems like they're continuing the streak of having their TakeOver shows on Sunday nights, provided they're not the same weekend as one of the big WWE pay-per-views. Looks like this is a new thing. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I think Saturday nights are much easier. I don't know what the reason is for them doing Sunday nights. I don't know if they're experimenting. I'm not really sure what it is, but that's the next time we're going to get it. Up next was one of the matches I was most definitely looking forward to going into the show. Johnny Gargano versus Finn Balor for the first time, if not first time ever in existence. It was definitely the first time in NXT and WWE. I don't know if they had any match against each other outside of the WWE, but for all intents and purposes, inside NXT and the WWE world, this is the first time they've gone one-on-one. The match started pretty slow, kind of methodical, especially from Balor. Gargano managed to, injure Balor's left arm, but then Balor retaliated by injuring Gargano's left knee and kind of, worked over the injured knee for a good while. Usually in matches, this is where things can get kind of boring, but Balor was very vicious in this match, and his methodical nature was refreshing because we have not really seen this side of Balor prior to this. At one point, he locked Gargano in a really cool knee bar type move. So, Balor was just on a different level in this match. There was this awesome back and forth sequence where Balor hit a big boot on Gargano. Gargano hit a step up enziguri kick on Balor. Balor hit a Pele kick. And in doing so, Balor was down and Gargano fell down, but he fell onto Balor in position to cover him, but it was only good for a 2 count. And at this point, I believe one of many instances where the fans applauded both men because that was really cool. We had a bunch of sling blades and super kicks going back and forth. Balor went up top going for the coup de grace, but he missed, and Gargano managed to get him in the Gargano escape, locked him in it, Balor escaped once, but he got locked right back in it, but eventually he reached the ropes and managed to break the hold. Both men went to the outside. Gargano ended up hitting a running drop kick onto Balor and drop kicked him into the security wall. He attempted to give him a 1917 on the floor, but then he looked over at the announce table, thought maybe I'll do it there. So he was about to do it right on the announce table, but then Balor reversed it and gave him a front suplex right onto the announce table, but he landed like gut first on the monitors. The monitors were not cleared, and that looked pretty damn brutal. Balor gets in position. He is a couple ways away from Gargano. Gargano is still on the farthest announce table. I believe it was the Spanish announce table. And Balor's on the American announce table. So Balor runs across the announce tables and gives Gargano a running drop kick and drop kicks him off the table all the way into the security wall, gets him back in the ring, hits a emphatic coup de grace, and hits him with the 1916 for the win. Finn Balor says he does not miss, and he did not miss. He got the win, and seemingly, at least based on the ending of the show, has ended this feud with a victory. So, great match. Gargano, as always, delivers at TakeOver, and, excellent match on his part, but Balor is just on another level as a heel right now. This vicious side of Finn Balor is the side of Balor that I've always wanted to see. At the very least, I wanted to see that from his demon persona. So the Finn Balor we had before, be that, but then when he becomes a demon, be more vicious like this, Drive in those feet when you hit the coup de grace. Plant them when you hit the 1916. Be this methodical, be this, more vicious and intense, style of wrestling when you're in the demon persona to, differentiate the demon from regular Balor. But now he's incorporated these vicious tendencies into his regular persona. I dig it. It makes his matches a lot more entertaining to watch. It makes me a lot more interested in the Balor character, and I dig it. I love having the Prince back, and he provided one of the best matches on this show. So, all for Finn Balor getting the W over Johnny Gargano, and of course, as you know, this was not the last time we would see Johnny Gargano on this night. Up next was the NXT Women's Championship match. Bianca Belair challenging Rhea Ripley. Bianca came out with not really a robe, it was more like a cape. It had written on the back of it, Black History in the Making. And on Bianca's tights, it had written all over it, Black History. So she exuding black pride, and rightfully so, because she should take a lot of pride in her ability, because Bianca Belair is legit, and she proved how legit she was in this match. She and Rhea Ripley, while not the best match of the night, in fact, this was probably the weakest. I would say the two women's matches on this show were probably the two weakest matches on the show. But again, this is what I was kind of talking about earlier, where I said the weakest match on the show I would still call great, because this was still a great match. Rhea, she did her thing. She was awesome in this match. As always, Rhea Ripley, she's only 23 years old. She's incredibly talented for someone as young as she is, and sky's the limit for her. The exact same thing can be said about Bianca Belair, because it was a year ago where we saw Bianca Belair have her first big takeover match against Shayna Baszler for the championship, and now a year later, she has this match, and she proved once again just how damn good she is. The way she carries herself, her confidence, her, just the charisma that she exudes, and her ability. Strong as hell, extremely talented, and all of that was on display in this match from the jump all the way to the very end. So, a very impressive night for Bianca Belair. That's why I am not extremely upset over the finish to this match. The finish that we all knew was coming, but some of us were probably in denial, maybe playing fantasy booker, trying to think of how to avoid it, but it was inevitable. Rhea was up on the top turnbuckle. Bianca had her up there. Looked like she was going for a superplex, but Rhea tried to give her a sunset flip. She flipped over and tried to connect, but Bianca was still holding on. But while she was holding on and on the apron, Rhea conformed her body basically and turned it into a riptide from the middle rope and got the win. So got the 1-2-3 over Bianca Belair. Rhea retains, and once that bell rung and the match was over, showed the replays, and at that point, Bianca Belair is officially an afterthought because right from behind came Charlotte, who blindsided Rhea, attacked her from behind, laid her out, got a microphone, and officially accepted Rhea's challenge, and it will be Charlotte Flair challenging Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's Championship at WrestleMania. She capped it off here by hitting an ugly-looking natural selection on Rhea, and on her way out, Bianca Belair was still on the outside, and she threw Bianca into the steel steps, kind of a receipt for when the two women attacked Charlotte a few weeks ago on NXT television. So there you go. When Charlotte won the Rumble, the rumors became very clear that she was not going to challenge for either of the Raw or SmackDown Women's Championships, and then they brought Rhea Ripley to TV, and Rhea challenged Charlotte to challenge her for her championship at WrestleMania. As soon as that happened, before this match even took place on this show, you knew what the outcome was going to be, and you knew immediately after we were going to get something like this, and Bianca was going to, unfortunately, be pushed to the side. But she is pushed to the side for now. This is not like, I don't look at it like they dropped the ball with her. Now, should she have been women's champion at some point? Maybe, but like the women's division in NXT has been stacked for like a year, maybe a year and a half now. You have people like Rhea Ripley. You had like Shayna Baszler and Bianca Belair, Candice LeRae, Io Shirai. You know, all these talented women who all had a case to win the women's championship at one point or another. So it's a tough call. But I do think Bianca Belair has not reached her ceiling, and sky's the limit for her completely. I don't think her future is staying in NXT, though. I do think her future will be on Raw or SmackDown, whichever show needs her most. I'd say SmackDown only to eventually set up a feud with her and Sasha Banks down the road. But I could see that as soon as post-WrestleMania, her making her way over, if you don't want to look at NXT as developmental anymore and as a third brand, making her way over to Raw or SmackDown. But yeah, she's just too talented to overlook. Now, I know they've, treated some NXT talents pretty badly when put on the main roster, but I think someone like Bianca Belair, she is just too damn good to keep down and overlook and pass over too much. I could see her winning a championship by the end of the year, or at the very least at some point next year. She has the ability to be one of the top faces in the entire women's division, no matter what show she's on. But yeah, Charlotte and Rhea Ripley, that's going to be an exciting match. It's a fresh match. I don't have a lot of hope for Rhea Ripley to make it out of that match with her championship, but it's going to be a good match, I don't doubt. Up next, we had the NXT Tag Team Championships on the line. The Undisputed Era's Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly defending their titles against the winners of the 2020 Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle, the Broserweights. These guys have quickly become one of the most over acts in NXT. They are quite entertaining together, especially those skits on the Go Home show on NXT, them finding their way to get to Portland. This match was a lot of fun. It really kind of started off like, okay, this is the dead match right before the main event. It'll probably be over pretty quickly. But it had some length to it, and the fans were really into it. You have Pete Dunne, who they love, and Matt Riddle, of course, they love him. And the two of them together, these fans were hot to see these guys win the titles from Fish and O'Reilly, who, of course, are one of the best tag teams in NXT. Granted, they're probably one of the only legit tag teams in NXT, which helps, but they were great. A big turning point in the match came on the outside. Dunne was kind of beating down Bobby Fish. He went for a kick to Fish, but Fish ducked, and Dunne accidentally connected with the ring post. So Dunne was kind of incapacitated for a good chunk of the match, and it was just Riddle fending for himself against Fish and O'Reilly. But eventually Dunne got back into things. He and Riddle managed to go at it with Fish and O'Reilly, but Fish and O'Reilly, thwarted them, kept them off. At one point, O'Reilly had a leg lock on Riddle. Dunne was up top. Fish was dealing with him, but Dunne managed to snap Fish's fingers, and then he came off the middle rope and stomped onto O'Reilly's fingers, and that broke the hold. So that was pretty cool. There was some miscommunication between Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne, and it scared me a little bit because it led to a really close near fall. Riddle went for a spear on, I believe, Bobby Fish, but Bobby Fish sidestepped him. Riddle accidentally hit a spear on Pete Dunne. Then Riddle was thrown out of the ring, and they hit Chasing the Dragon on Pete Dunne. And at this point, I'm like, oh shit. Miscommunication between these two guys is going to lead to them losing, and we're going to get Dunne beating the shit out of Matt Riddle after this match. This is crazy. This is going to be awful. But it was only a 2 count. A very close 2 count, but a 2 count nonetheless. But eventually, Riddle came back in, and he and Dunne, I don't even know what, just a whole bunch of combination kicks and knee strikes and all of that stuff on Fish and O'Reilly. And there was this big GTS sidekick combo move on Fish that they hit. Whatever it was enough to take out Bobby Fish and put him away and give the Broserweights the 1, 2, 3, the win, and the NXT Tag Team Championships. The titles changed hands. That is one more championship taken away from the Undisputed Era. And as I mentioned before, one of the most quickly rising over acts in NXT right now are now the tag team champions. The correct move to make, the best move they can make on this show. Because they're a makeshift team, I know that can make some people upset. Quite frankly, they're just so entertaining together. It was hard not to pull the trigger and give them the titles. I am 100% behind this. Do I think it'll last very long? Probably not, because I think the end goal would be Dunne eventually laying out Matt Riddle and getting sick and tired of his bullshit, and the two of them having a one-on-one match at a future TakeOver show. But until then, let's enjoy this odd couple tag team and let them run with the titles for a little while and just give us more skits like the one on TV the week before, and everything will be good. And then we get to the main event for the NXT Championship. Adam Cole defending the title against Tommaso Ciampa, the man who never lost the championship. It was almost a year ago that he had to surrender the title due to a nagging neck injury that required surgery. And then it was over the summer when Adam Cole first won the NXT Championship from Johnny Gargano and has held it ever since. It was around September when Tommaso Ciampa officially returned to TV, and we've been building up to this match ever since. And this match was insanity, but it was what you would come to expect from TakeOver main events now. Depending on who you ask, that might not be the most positive thing in the world, but at the end of the day, it was still a really great match. It was a fantastic match, and they told an amazing story in this match. Pretty early on, too, Ciampa came out the gate just killing Adam Cole, beating him all around the ring, all around ringside, just mercilessly beating him down. But things took a dramatic change very quickly afterwards when Cole had Ciampa in a position to hit him with a wheelbarrow German suplex and did so, sending Ciampa back and neck first right onto the announce table, the American announce table on the outside. Just a huge gasp came over the crowd in Portland, and they were just stunned by this. I was stunned by this. That looked sick. That looked sick. And from there, Cole pretty much dominated Ciampa's neck in many ways for a good portion of the match. Ciampa managed to, make a comeback somewhat. He busted out the old favorite on Adam Cole, an air raid crash from high heights. This time hit the air raid crash off the top rope, so not as impressive as the one he hit off of the cage at War Games a few months ago, but still devastating nonetheless. Just not devastating enough to keep Cole down for the count because it was only good for a 2 count. Both men were on the outside, and our good friend Mr. Table once again did not want to cooperate. Ciampa attempted to hit a powerbomb on Adam Cole through the announce table. He hit the powerbomb, but no one went through the table. So Cole just landed splat onto the table, did not break. Ciampa would not settle for this, so he did what the women earlier, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, should have did to Tegan Nox and not leave a table unbroken. So he picks Cole right back up and plants his ass right through the announce table, rightfully so. Big pop from the crowd. We got to a point where it was kind of, spamming finishers time. We had super kicks. There was a last shot on Ciampa, but Ciampa managed to roll away from it. Cole tried to hit a Panama Sunrise off the top turnbuckle onto the ring apron on the outside, but it got blocked, and Ciampa hit the air raid crash once again, this time on the ring apron. Cole eventually does hit the Panama Sunrise on the outside. Ciampa was going for the fairy tale ending on the outside, but Cole back body dropped him, got up on the announce table, and hit him with the Panama Sunrise on the outside. He threw Ciampa back in the ring first, and as he was slowly getting back in the ring, Ciampa caught him, hit him with a draping DDT, hit him with a fairy tale ending, looked like it was about to be over, only good for a 2 count. Then at this point, that is when the Undisputed Era graced us with their presence. They came out. Roderick Strong distracted the referee while Fish and O'Reilly disposed of Ciampa, threw him back in the ring. Cole went for the cover, only good for a 2 count. Undisputed Era still out there. Ciampa disposes of all of them, but in doing so, he ended up knocking out the referee. So the referee's down, the rest of the Undisputed Era is down. He hits Cole with the fairy tale ending, but of course, ref's down, everyone's out. At this point, Johnny Gargano emerges. He comes out, he's at ringside wearing a DIY shirt. He's encouraging Ciampa to continue on, fight back. There was a point when the referee got knocked out where Adam Cole brought the championship in the ring, or one of his Undisputed Era members gave him the championship, so it was in the ring. Ciampa went to go retrieve it, but that excuse me, that is when Johnny Gargano took the championship away from Ciampa. He held it, he stared at it. Ciampa's confused, he's like, what are you doing? And then Gargano just clobbers Ciampa right in the head with the championship title, knocks him out. Cole gets the slow crawl over and covers him for the 1, 2, 3. Adam Cole's long reign as NXT champion continues. He is the sole member of the Undisputed Era who is still a champion, and Johnny Gargano has turned on his freshly reunited best friend Tommaso Ciampa. Did not see that coming. This match could have gone either way. Easily could have seen Ciampa winning the championship, but I definitely could not predict Johnny Gargano screwing over Tommaso Ciampa and basically turning heel and restarting and reigniting this feud with the roles reversed. very, very interesting turn of events here. So, the match we were robbed of getting last year, WrestleMania weekend, it appears we are going to get this WrestleMania weekend with the roles reversed, heel Johnny Gargano against babyface Psycho Killer Tommaso Ciampa. Very interesting. I could not have seen that coming. And just the sheer shock of it is enough to just leave me dumbfounded, but also leave me impressed and leave me quite satisfied. The match itself, the main event between Cole and Ciampa, was excellent. One of the best NXT Championship main events we've had on a TakeOver show. The kicking out of finishers, some of them got a little ridiculous. There was one part towards the end, I don't know if I mentioned it, because it looked like it was the end. You know, it was a bunch of super kicks to Ciampa, hit him with the last shot, went for the cover, 1-2, kick out. You know, and stuff like that. And Cole, the Panama Sunrise, is a pile driver, so seeing people kick out of it, not the most fun thing in the world. But it was still a great match and an excellent finish to an excellent TakeOver show. I have no strong complaints other than, you know, a few of that kind of stuff, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what these guys and gals in NXT pull out for WrestleMania weekend in Tampa. And I'm looking forward to seeing NXT television in these next upcoming weeks. So, great stuff here. I'm very impressed. Another great outing for NXT. So, I don't know what else to say. I think I'm done for. I'll be back on YouTube for my review of AEW Revolution in a few weeks. So until then, check you later.